So there is this business model generating some serious recurring revenue right now. And the primary raw material that's actually driving that revenue is something like 37% of American households are actively trying to throw away.
Yeah, it is. It's really the ultimate paradox of business ownership. I mean, you have these highly educated, experienced corporate professionals trading that pristine corner office to manage a logistics network built entirely around pet waste.
Right. And, welcome to today's deep dive. When you picture the classic corporate dream, you usually envision climbing the ladder, getting that impressive title, the tailored suit, all that prestige. But for a growing number of you out there listening, whether you're multi-unit investors or corporate escapees, the most lucrative, highly scalable business models are just hiding in plain sight.
They really are. They're disguised as, well, the most unglamorous everyday chores imaginable.
Exactly.
And we are looking at a fundamental shift in buyer psychology here because the traditional markers of success, the shiny retail storefront, the massive office, they often come with just crippling overhead.
It's completely crippling.
Right. So when investors start peeling back the layers of the unit economics, they discover that the less glamorous the service, well, the more attractive the balance sheet tends to be.
Which brings us to our mission for this deep dive. We are reverse engineering a brand called Scoop Brothers. So this is a canine waste removal service. It was founded in 2019 by a family of dog lovers who basically identified a massive gap in their local market service industry.
And then they launched as a franchise opportunity in 2024.
Exactly. And the goal today isn't just to talk about dogs. We are going to unpack the unit economics, the operational mechanics, and really figure out why acquiring a literal dirty job is actually a masterclass in building a recurring revenue executive business.
Yeah, to understand why a model like this attracts serious investors who might otherwise be looking at, I don't know, tech startups or large-scale food franchises, we have to examine the service architecture.
Right.
They haven't just created a business, they have completely repositioned a neighborhood chore into a premium essential utility.
I mean, I have to say, when I first hear pet waste removal, the immediate image that comes to mind is like a teenager from down the street with a plastic grocery bag and a garden trowel just trying to make $20 on a Saturday.
Sure, yeah.
That is a completely fragmented, informal transaction.
Right. But the deliberate shift in language and the operational standards is what separates a gig from a scalable enterprise. So Scoop Brothers operates as a residential and commercial pet waste valet service.
Okay, valet.
Yeah, the word valet is crucial there. It signals a highly structured, professionalized system. So for the residential side, they run one time, twice weekly, and weekly scoops. But the commercial arm is where the logistics become incredibly sophisticated.
So you're talking about managing common areas for homeowner associations, property grounds, high-traffic dog parks, right?
Exactly.
Because an HOA managing a, say, 300-home subdivision has a massive aesthetic and health liability if pet waste starts accumulating in the common areas.
Right, and they step in and become the sanitation infrastructure for those commercial properties. They install the physical pet waste stations, they manage the inventory of bags, they maintain the units, and they actually haul the biological waste away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so this solves a massive headache for property managers who, they don't want their high-end landscaping crews dealing with biological hazards.
That makes total sense.
And it creates this high-ticket, deeply entrenched B2B revenue stream right alongside the residential routes.
And they elevate that infrastructure even further with their value-add services, don't they? Like, they aren't just removing the visible waste. They provide full yard sanitation using this product called Wisey Wash, which is a biodegradable deodorizer and sanitizer.
Yeah, and the underlying mechanism of that treatment changes the entire value proposition of the business.
How so?
Well, Wisey Wash is safe for natural turf artificial surfaces plants, and it's completely non-irritating to humans and animals. But chemically, it neutralizes the pathogens and diseases that actively live and breed in animal waste.
Right, so the customer isn't just buying someone's labor to pick up a mess.
Exactly. They're purchasing a recurring environmental health and safety treatment for their property.
You are buying peace of mind, really. And the addressable market for that peace of mind, meaning the total number of potential customers who actually need this, is just staggering.
Oh, yeah.
With an estimated 37% of American households having at least one dog, the target audience is everywhere.
And we also have to consider how the cultural perception of outsourced home services has evolved, right? Like 15 years ago, paying a company to clean your yard was viewed as a pure luxury.
Total luxury. Yeah.
But today you have this massive demographic of dual income households remote workers who are literally staring at their backyards all day, and families who are just stretched to their absolute limits.
Right.
For them, outsourcing this specific chore has shifted from a luxury to basically a baseline necessity.
But I look at the current economic landscape, and I immediately wonder about consumer behavior during a downturn. Like, if a family needs to tighten their budget, isn't an outsourced scooping service the very first subscription they cancel to save, $50 a month?
See, that is the defining question for any recurring revenue model. What is your churn rate?
Exactly.
The defense against cancellation here is built on the fundamental nature of the product itself. Simply put, animal waste never stops.
Right. It just keeps coming.
It is a daily, guaranteed occurrence. If you cancel your exterior house painting, you just live with faded paint for another year, right?
Sure.
But if you cancel your pet waste removal within 4 days, your backyard becomes unusable. The pain point returns almost immediately.
The supply of the raw material is infinite and just relentlessly disruptive to the homeowner's life.
Exactly. And furthermore, the retention is locked in through the operational mechanics of that valet experience we talked about.
Oh, right, the automated texts.
Yeah, they utilize an automated communication system that texts clients before arrival. And crucially, when the technician finishes the job, this software requires them to take a photo of the secured lock gate, which is instantly emailed to the homeowner.
Okay, that is brilliant because that solves the invisible barrier to entry. I mean, the biggest anxiety for a dog owner isn't necessarily the mess, it's the fear of a service worker leaving the gate unlatched and the dog running out into the street.
Exactly. By systematizing that photo of the locked gate, the technology entirely removes the customer's anxiety.
It's like proof.
Right? Think of it like a modern air traffic control system.
Yeah.
The homeowner gets a ping that the plane has landed safely, meaning the gate is locked and the yard is sanitized.
And once a family integrates that level of frictionless trust and just a perfectly clean outdoor space into their weekly routine, the psychological hurdle of going back to spending their Sunday mornings doing it themselves is massive.
That's huge.
That valet system is what truly protects the recurring revenue stream.
And because that valet-level service creates such sticky retention, it completely alters the customer acquisition math. You aren't constantly having to replace lost customers.
Which brings us to the actual financial foundation required to scale this logistics network. For a corporate executive or someone looking to diversify an investment portfolio, the barrier to entry sits in a very specific tier here.
It does.
So looking at the numbers, the total investment range to launch a Scoop Brothers franchise is between $132,500 and $197,000.
And in the franchise industry, staying under that $200,000 threshold is highly strategic.
Why is that?
It makes the model accessible to a much wider pool of liquid capital without requiring complex SBA loans or really heavy outside financing.
Got it. And the required net worth is $250,000 with $100,000 in liquid cash alongside a 7.5% royalty fee.
Right.
When you evaluate those numbers against the operational model, they reflect 3 distinct wealth-building pillars, right? Low investment, low overhead, and low employee headcount.
Absolutely. The low overhead is the primary engine of profitability here, specifically because there is absolutely no brick-and-mortar requirement.
None at all.
None. Removing the physical storefront from the business plan eliminates the most volatile risk factors in entrepreneurship.
Because you aren't negotiating a 5-year commercial lease.
Right.
You aren't dealing with a triple net lease where the landlord suddenly puts you on the hook for a spike in property taxes or replacing a massive HVAC system on the roof.
Oh, yeah. Those can destroy a business.
And there are no city permit delays holding up your grand opening while you're just bleeding cash paying rent on an empty shell.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You also remove geographical revenue constraints.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a retail business relies entirely on foot traffic. You have to wait for the customer to walk through your door.
Right.
But with a mobile service model, you are actively bringing the infrastructure directly to the demand.
So I talk to a lot of corporate professionals who are burning out and looking for an exit strategy. And often their instinct is to gravitate towards something with a lot of social cachet.
Sure, they want something sexy.
Yeah, they want the trendy boutique fitness studio or the artisanal coffee shop where their friends can drop by and see them owning a business. So why does a seasoned executive with a $250,000 net worth bypass the trendy retail brand to manage pet waste?
Well, it really comes down to comparing buyer ego against mathematical reality.
Buyer ego, I love that.
Right. Because the trendy retail space feels validating, But the balance sheet tells a completely different story.
Mhm.
A traditional retail build-out requires massive commercial real estate, costs expensive perishable inventory, and large teams of shift workers.
Yeah, you have to sell thousands of items just to break even on your fixed monthly rent before a single dollar hits your personal bank account.
Right, the margins in that scenario are often highly vulnerable to slight shifts in consumer traffic.
Yeah.
But now analyze the overhead architecture of Scoop Brothers.
Okay.
It is stripped down to pure utility. You have vehicles, equipment, labor, and routing software. That is it. Because the fixed costs are so minimal, the break-even point is drastically lower. This translates directly to speed to market. You aren't waiting 9 months for construction to finish. You can acquire your territory, launch your marketing, and begin generating cash flow in a fraction of the time.
So you are actively trading the ego boost of a retail sign for the financial security of protected profit margins.
Exactly.
But because there is no retail storefront and the overhead is strictly logistics-based, it drastically changes the owner's day-to-day lifestyle, doesn't it? An investor putting nearly $200,000 into this isn't riding around in a truck with a shovel.
No, definitely not.
Hmm.
And this is the most critical distinction for a prospective buyer. Scoop Brothers is engineered explicitly as an executive ownership model.
Right.
The brand defines this as heads-on, not hands-on business. The franchisee is not the technician.
You are the CEO of your market territory. You are managing the logistics algorithms, analyzing the customer acquisition data, overseeing the localized marketing, and leading your staff, who, by the way, are positioned within the company culture as pet waste butlers.
I love that term. And your daily focus is entirely on enterprise growth. And because the model is managed through mobile technology and centralized software rather than a physical location, it is naturally primed for multi-unit expansion.
Right, because you don't need a new office for every territory.
Exactly. The exact same digital dashboard you use to manage one territory can scale to manage 3, 5, or 10 territories without requiring you to duplicate administrative overhead.
Which also makes it incredibly appealing for semi-absentee investors who maybe want to keep their corporate jobs while building equity on the side.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there is another strategic deployment of this model that is just brilliant, utilizing it as an add-on franchise.
Yes, this is where the model acts as a revenue multiplier.
How does that work?
Well, if an entrepreneur already owns a business in the home service sector, so let's say a successful landscaping company, a pest control operation, or maybe pool maintenance, they are sitting on a gold mine of unmonetized data.
Oh, because they already have the fleet of branded trucks, the existing labor pool, and most importantly, a massive database of local homeowners who already trust their brand enough to let them onto their property every week.
Exactly. Logistically, cross-selling becomes virtually frictionless. The landscaping owner simply sends a campaign to their existing thousands of clients announcing the new premium pet waste valet service.
That's genius.
They bypass the expensive customer acquisition phase entirely and instantly monetize their current database with a brand new, highly sticky, recurring revenue stream. It maximizes the lifetime value of every single customer they already have.
Okay, but for the corporate escapee who doesn't have an existing home service business to leverage this, they have to rely heavily on the franchisor to generate that initial momentum, right?
They do.
And Scoop Brothers is backed by the B. Rugged family of brands, which provides the corporate branding and the aggressive marketing engines.
Yeah, the franchisor really executes the complex digital strategies. They utilize data-driven tactics like geofencing specific high-income, dog-heavy neighborhoods, or targeting digital ads directly at dual-income demographics.
So the franchise doesn't need to be an expert in social media algorithm.
No, not at all. They just plug into an established marketing machine.
Which allows the owner to focus on localized networking and, crucially, staff management.
Right.
Because managing a mobile manual workforce is notoriously challenging in the service industry. High turnover can literally paralyze a business. So if the brand's core values prioritize exceptional customer service, meaning the customer is always right, how does an executive owner who is sitting at a laptop across town guarantee that level of quality control and keep their workforce stable?
Great question. They solve the operational challenges of a mobile workforce through systemization and route density.
Okay, break that down.
Well, the technology stack we mentioned earlier, the GPS routing and the required photo uploads, that bridges the gap between executive management and frontline execution. The software literally acts as an automated middle manager.
So it forces compliance.
Exactly. The system physically will not let the technician close out the job and move to the next house until the quality control parameters like that gate photo are met.
Wow. So the owner can look at a digital dashboard and verify in real time that brand standards are being executed across 50 different properties simultaneously without ever leaving their desk.
Exactly. And regarding labor retention, the routing software plays a massive role in employee satisfaction too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, think about it. If you have inefficient routing, a technician spends 20 minutes driving between jobs, which is dead time. But the franchisor's marketing engine creates route density grouping 10 or 15 clients in a single neighborhood.
Ah, so the technician parks the truck once and services multiple properties on foot.
Right. Because they are highly efficient, the business generates a higher profit margin per labor hour, which means the owner can afford to compensate their butlers better than scattered gig economy jobs.
So the technology creates a better working environment, which stabilizes the workforce.
You build the system, and the system runs the business. You
Yeah.
just manage the managers.
We have covered a massive amount of operational and psychological ground today. When we pull all of these mechanics together, Scoop Brothers represents a fascinating inversion of the traditional corporate dream.
It really does.
They have taken a guaranteed daily occurrence that 37% of American households face, and they've professionalized it into a tech-enabled valet service.
They engineered a highly efficient logistics engine masquerading as a neighborhood chore.
And for you, the prospective franchisee, they offer a low overhead, low headcount model with zero brick and mortar risk. You trade the vulnerability of retail leases for the rapid speed to market of a routing-based service. You operate strictly heads-on, not hands-on, utilizing advanced software to ensure quality control while you focus entirely on driving recurring revenue and scaling your territory.
You know, evaluating business opportunities requires looking past the surface aesthetics.
Absolutely.
The most robust balance sheets are frequently attached to the exact businesses people overlook. When you identify a service that solves a persistent daily pain point and you apply executive-level systems to it, well, that is where real equity is built.
The unglamorous nature of the work is really just the moat protecting the profit margins.